Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Believeland Prep Podcast. As always, I'm Derek Dimmitt, and I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Cameron Palmer. Cameron, we survived week one. How did the game you covered play out?
Um, well, from a reporter standpoint, it went fine. As a Cardinal alum, not fantastic. Garfield shut out the Huskies 42-0. I apologize. In week one, the losing streak to Garfield continues. It has now reached 10 years. I discussed that in my article a little bit. So they're gonna give it another shot next year, and we'll worry about that when we get there. But how did the Menor Jackson game go for you?
It was real good. It was back and forth the whole way throughout. Mentor did pull off the victory, and we'll discuss that here in a little bit. Um, but Yeah, it was Scotty Fox leading Mentor 15 to 39 through the air for 322 yards and two touchdowns. And for Jackson, I don't know if I said the final score yet, but it was Mentor 26, Jackson 21. Jackson was led by their sophomore quarterback, Lucas Eckerman, who was 16 to 28 through the air for 245 yards and three touchdowns, while also leading the Polar Bears on the ground with 19 carries and 138 yards.
Did you say that was their
So
quarterback?
yeah, it was a big one. What was that? I'm sorry.
Did you say that was their quarterback who led them on the ground?
Yeah.
Oh
Sophomore
my
quarterback.
goodness.
Yeah, he was
Oh my
he was
goodness.
tearing apart the Cardinals defense. And then Kevin had some health issues last week, so I actually started out the Kent and Ravenna coverage. But they were affected by the storms that Northeast Ohio had last Thursday night, so they ended up finishing on Saturday afternoon, and Kevin was able to get there for that. But it was Kent Roosevelt 28 over Ravenna with a score of 20. Kent was led by quarterback Jack Smith, who was 19 of 29 through the air for 350 yards and three touchdowns. He spread the wealth. It was Lincoln Wade, Jaden Portis, and Theodore Macaron, each having a touchdown reception for the Rough Riders. And the Ravens of Ravenna were led by running back Daniel Sanders. He rushed the ball 11 times for 134 yards and three scores. The other big event going on in Northeast Ohio was the NEO versus America showcase that Northeast Ohio flexed their muscle, as I put it on the website, and they went 4-0 on the weekend. The highly contested game of the weekend was the Friday night matchup of Massillon and Valdosta. Valdosta jumped out to an early lead, 14 to nothing. It was Shakavius Wright leading the way with the 70-yard sprint on the game's first play. He finished the game with 19 carries and 111 yards. The junior quarterback Todd Robinson for Valdosta found Eli Lewis a few plays later for a 15-yard touchdown pass after that 70-yard run. And Robinson later found sophomore wide receiver Prince Jean on a 63-yard screen pass and run, extending the lead 14-0. And Valdosta in the first quarter outgained the Massillon Tigers 195 to 13. So definitely lopsided in the first quarter, and Massillon, their comeback was led by quarterback recent transfer DeJuan Jones, who had 13 carries for 241 yards and two touchdowns. Um, and then for Saturday, it was St. Edward's equals topping the Center Grove Trojans 21 to or excuse me 27 to 10, and St. Ed's just imposed their will and power on the Trojans, and they had no answer. It was a battle of the trenches that St. Edward's relied on the Armstrong twins that are heading to Ohio State, and Ben Roebuck, who's heading up north to Ann Arbor. But all three of them 6'5" plus, around 300 pounds or more. They're grown men playing a boys' game at the high school level. And then the middle game on Saturday was the Hoban Knights defeating Frederick Douglass out of Kentucky 45 to 6. Hoban scored early on the first offensive play and often. and they just boat raced the Broncos right back to Kentucky. Then in the nightcap, Louisville won that one 36-13. Dinwiddie did hold a 7-0 lead after the first quarter, but then it was the DeJounte Jones show. And if that Jones last name sounds familiar with Glenville, that's because he is Cardell Jones' nephew. So hopefully he doesn't have an offer from Ohio State yet, but they do have quite a few on their team that are heading to Columbus. And if he keeps playing as he did on Saturday, it won't be a surprise to see him get offered by Coach Day and the Buckeyes. He scored 4 rushing touchdowns in the second quarter, all on consecutive plays. So he was like playing a video game out there. And Coach Ginn rested the starters throughout the whole second.
My goodness. That's it was a good Friday and it's going to be a good Saturday morning. Starters have their
Right,
pads off coming out of the half. That's when it's going to be a good
right,
Saturday. You might show up with donuts in the
right.
coach's office. So I am going to discuss Villa Angela St. Joseph and Rootstown Crestwood from week 1, and then I will segue into my 2 games for this week. So Villa Angela St. Joseph defeated John Hay 40-14. Bo Jackson had 3 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown for VASJ. Just dominant performance, living up to the name, as you can
Right.
tell. Rootstown and Crestwood just kind of duked it out for 4 quarters. Rootstown pulled away eventually, winning 42-30. Dawson Morgan, phenomenal numbers, 35 attempts for 357 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground. Just video game numbers across the board throughout all the games that we covered, and even things that I've seen just all over Twitter as far as other schools. Some of those I'll get into in a little bit. And then for Cardinal, the Garfield game I touched on a little bit. Keegan Sell was my player of the game. 11 carries, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Garfield's first offensive play came after a Cardinal fumble, and he took it 31 yards to the house on the first play. On defense, 12 solo tackles, 6 tackles for loss, a sack, and a forced fumble for Sal as well. Just doing everything for his team. He's kind of their utility guy. He punts for them as well. The PA announcer at Cardinal was even talking about how he mentioned, before a punt, the guy who does it all. He really does. Him and Geddes really complement each other very well. And I saw that firsthand here. And then I saw it the past couple of years being on Cardinals sideline as a player. I've seen it for the past couple of years. They complement each other very well, and it shows week in and week out. But anyways, we're gonna look ahead to my week. The busy week again, as you can tell. So my starter for Friday is the Kenston Bombers are taking on the West Yaga Wolverines. Kenston manhandled Boardman on Friday, 50-13 in the week 1 opener, led by junior quarterback Lucas Kaltenbach, a transfer from Benedictine, went 17 of 26 for 130 yards through the air with 1 touchdown, did throw an interception. On the ground, he went for 9 attempts, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns, so a 3-touchdown day for the quarterback, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. Sean Patrick, Mr. All-Ohio, 22 attempts, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, with a 95-yard kickoff return touchdown and an interception on defense, just showing you his versatility, making his case early for Mr. All-Ohio again. Paying that Akron offer might be paying off here soon. That's or the commitment, I should say, the commitment. Some of the receiving numbers, Cohen Clark, 8 attempts, 59 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Brandon Bell, 2 receptions, 40 yards and a touchdown, and Dylan Krupp, 6 receptions for 52 yards. Calling back, kind of spreading the level a little bit, making sure everybody gets involved for the air on the ground. Kenston had 517 yards of total offense. Just a crazy performance against a Division I school. West Yaga got shut out by Chardon, 35-0. So not much to go over there. Holy Name, Green Wave, and the Lake Catholic Cougars is my matchup on Saturday. Lake Catholic dropped their opener 26-29 to Cardinal Mooney. Quarterback Frankie Trinetti, 22 for 36, 399 yards passing 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Um, Receiver DJ Sears, 9 receptions, 161 yards and a touchdown. And Cross Nemo, 4 receptions, 126 yards and 3 touchdowns for Lake Catholic. I think I know who their quarterback's 2 favorite targets are, so I would definitely keep your eye on them this week. It seems like he likes to go to DJ and Cross, so we'll see how Holy Name holds up against them. And Holy Name fell to Padua 21-9 in week one. Andrew Cole 12 for 25 and 100 yards, 15 carries and 83 yards for the quarterback. William Dix 11 carries, 54 yards, and Xavier Rodriguez led the Green Wave in receiving, 6 receptions for 57 yards. So uh, both teams looking to get their first win of the year. Um, it seems Lake Catholic has a high powered offense, able to keep up with Cardinal Mooney, and Holy Name maybe has some things to figure out. I know Padua is pretty good at football, so take it for a grain of salt. So we'll see what Saturday has in store. That game kicks off at 7 p.m. Both Friday and Saturday. You have any games that you want to talk about for this week as far as Believeland goes?
Yeah, so I'll be covering the Hudson Explorers. They travel down to North Canton to face off with the Hoover Vikings. Hudson's coming off of a 35-21 win over Highland. They were led by the running back Ian Ludwig, who had 26 carries for 170 yards and 4 touchdowns, while also adding a kickoff return for a touchdown. So he was responsible for all 5 of the Hudson touchdowns. So it'll be interesting to see how he follows that up here in week 2. As for Hoover, they defeated Akron Bookdole by a score of 27-21. Quarterback Carson Dryland ran for 2 touchdowns to lead the way for Vikings, while also having 106 yards on the ground with 18 carries. Um, and 16 to 29 through the air for 158 yards. And leading the team in yardage on the ground was senior running back Tyler Miraglia. Um, so yeah, that'll be a definitely a good game Friday night. Two teams that have high expectations to not only make noise in their conference, but also once we get into the playoffs, looking to advance through there. And then some other games that will be covered here on the Believeland Media Network. We have Olentangy making the trek up north to face Medina. They're both 1-0. Both won their games pretty, pretty lopsided. Rather, sorry about that. Um, Danny Stoddard led the Bees, going 31 of 47 for 412 yards and 4 touchdowns in their victory over the Stowe Monroe Falls Bulldogs. Kevin will be at Wyndham this week. They welcome Rittman. Wyndham's looking for their first victory of the year, while Rittman topped the Tigers of Strasburg 27-0. And then up north, Marchand's got a full weekend again for the second weekend in a row. On Saturday, he'll be out at Cleveland Heights as they welcome Paramus Catholic out of New Jersey. Heights was victorious by a score of 46-21 over Berea Mid Park, and they were led by junior Marquise Davis with 228 yards and 3 touchdowns on offense, while also adding a pick six for the Tigers of Cleveland Heights. And Paramus, they haven't played a game this year, so they'll be looking to start off on the right foot. And then on Sunday, Marshawn will be out in Lakewood at St. Ed's as they welcome Our Lady of Good Counsel from Maryland. We already spoke about St. Ed's and how dominant they are up front. Um, Nationally, the Falcons are ranked 21st in the nation, while the Eagles are ranked 13th. So this big matchup is definitely one that will have a lot of eyes, not only locally but nationally, as this game will be broadcast on ESPN Sunday at 1 p.m. So tune in there to see a great high school game, one of the best ones that the regular season has to offer nationwide.
To
And
kind of
then
recap, to finish off our games, you have anything else to add before I
no,
run
no,
this show? Nope.
just throwing
All
it
right,
back
we're
to you.
good. All right. So Shaker Heights takes on Brush. Shaker defeated Willoughby South 39-26. They started their season off on the right foot, hoping to move to 2-0. Brush fell to Lorraine 35-7. Um, maybe Brush looking to kind of pick themselves up, brush themselves off, and no pun intended. Get back on the right track to take down Shaker. And then the next game will be Avon Lake and Benedictine. Jake Bova from Avon Lake uh, helped the Shoremen drown Strongsville 19-14 with 2 touchdowns in the second half. One in the fourth quarter to really put it away and give Avon the win. And Benedictine fell to Walsh Jesuit 49-26. So a couple teams without wins heading into week 2, looking to get back on track, and a couple teams starting off the season 1-0, looking to advance to 2-0. And I had a full weekend of volleyball, including a little bit last night. Um, so for the most part, Garfield defeated West G and Cardinal. The stats against Cardinal just phenomenal. I mean, the energy throughout before even getting to the stats, this energy that they brought, the teamwork, and even just kind of the way they worked together and the communication was phenomenal. The coach uh, talked with me about needing to work on some things heading into this week. Um, Not much that I saw that they need to work on. I am going to see them tomorrow. They take on La Brea, who Cardinal just played yesterday. Uh, Anyways, Mandy Cardinal, 8 kills, 5 blocks against uh, the Huskies. Lily Shea, 11 digs. Kyla Grace added 11 digs as well and 6 kills to boot. They they swept West G and Cardinal both 2-0, only playing 2 sets, or only playing to win 2 sets, seeing as it was a try match. West Yaga did beat Cardinal, then fell later on to Garfield. That rounds out the try match from Saturday. And then yesterday, LeBray took down Cardinal 3-0. Riley McDonough, 12 kills, 3 aces, 10 assists, and a block. Taylor Burns, 11 kills, 2 aces, 3 digs, and a block. Chloe Sanderson, 18 digs, doing the dirty work for the Vikings. And Ella Kuzma had 2 blocks, probably 2 of the most important blocks you'll see in a game. One block that tied it at 24, and the next one later on, just 2 plays later to win it and seal the victory 26-24, as Cardinal made the third set interesting. Looking ahead tonight, I have a Crestwood Mogador volleyball match, and then tomorrow heading to Garfield, as I mentioned, as they take on LeBray as well. LeBray's coach is very excited to play Garfield tomorrow. I believe that might be a little bit of a rivalry. I think the two coaches know each other, so hopefully looking for some high energy, maybe some high intensity volleyball that's just gonna knock your socks off. So that's all I got for
Definitely.
as far as what's that?
Oh, go ahead.
That's as far.
That's
That's
all you
about all
got.
I got. That's all I got for my past week of coverage. It's been a fun week. Week 1 was a lot of fun. I think I had the most boring game out of anybody. No offense to Garfield, but you guys had some dog fights.
Right. Definitely.
Probably got one coming up next week for sure. Week 3. We'll get to that next Wednesday. So be on the lookout for that. Uh, Anything else to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I did want to before we got off here, we did as Believeland Media, we did name our 2 players of the week for week 1. The way we do it, we do division 1 through 4 for Northeast Ohio, and then 5 through 7, just kind of give some of the bigger schools their flowers, so to speak, and also not forget about some of the smaller schools and the great athletes that we have there. So winning the Division 1 through 4 Northeast Ohio High School Football Player of the Week for week 1 was Julian Patti. He's the quarterback out of Rocky River. He was 22 of 33 for 421 yards and 5 touchdowns in their 55-42 win over Painesville Harvey. And then for the 5 through 7 divisions, it was running back Dawson Morgan out of Rootstown. He ended week one with 327 yards and 6 touchdowns in their 42-30 win over Crestwood that we talked about a little earlier. So congratulations to both of those guys, and be sure to follow Believeland Media on Instagram, as that is where we announce those. And we thank Brunswick Auto Mart and Daystar Ford for sponsoring those awards. Thank you once again for tuning in to our latest episode of the Believeland Prep Podcast. As I said, be sure to follow Believeland Media not only on Instagram, but also Facebook and Twitter, or X, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our high school coverage. We have highlight videos, we have interviews with coaches, players, a whole lot going on there, and Kevin does a great job keeping that up to date. And hey, send us away, Cameron.
Don't forget to follow us on TikTok too.
Oh yeah,
Don't forget that one.
oh yeah.
That almost as important. Just any final thoughts before we absolutely wrap it up? I think that there were some video game numbers all week everywhere you look. That was just some crazy display of football, and not even from the games that we covered, but other games. Obviously, the Kenston game, just video game numbers from some of their athletes. So definitely looking forward to what Friday has in store and Saturday as well. Got another nine games this week, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Oof.
We're wall
We're
to wall
killing.
coverage here at Believeland.
We're killing it. We're all taking care of football. You have volleyball on lockdown for the most part. So thank you guys so much for watching. Tune in next week. We're bringing on our Ohio State Buckeyes beat reporter, in a way, Alec Caberna, to show onto the show to preview the Ohio State Buckeyes football season as we review our week 2 action that we just discussed today and look ahead into our week 3 festivities. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.